Good morning. Welcome to Morning Moments. I'm so glad that you took the time to come this morning to join us. Today, I have somebody in the film industry again. A lot of film industry folks. She is a filmmaker, and you may have seen some of her work. Glen Weiss. Glen, thank you for coming to Morning Moments.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Tell us about yourself. Tell us, what do you do and why do you do it?
Well, I think I like to call myself a storyteller. So, from a very young age, I thought I was going to be an actress, but the Lord got me behind the camera about 2 years or 20 years ago, and I discovered that's my path, that's my passion, and just fell in love with it. But uh, yeah, so I produce, I direct, I write. Um, Still act occasionally, but I'll leave that for the experts. Sometimes you have to fill in. Andy, sometimes on these indie movies, you have to fill in.
Yeah.
So on my film The Cupbearer, I had an actress who was slated to play a role, and last minute she bows out. So thankfully the costume I had, and isn't this the Lord, the costume I had fit me. So I filled in.
You were just fit for that role.
I was fit for the role. That's awesome. So, so that's great, Andy. I have to say, Andy and I had a chat before starting this recording. Andy is a comedian, and I know anyone that knows me knows that I love to find out about people. So, Andy, you are hilarious, and you have such a story to tell. So I'm hopeful that your audience will learn more about you as you're interviewing me as well. That's good, though. You're quick.
When we talk about the story, and I think that's what draws actors and actresses to do the story.
Yeah.
And I do love acting myself. And when you act, you're thinking, I've got somebody else's story, and I'm just trying to portray what they wanted. But the difference between that and directing, and when I directed some church theater, Christmas plays, and
Yeah.
and you got the story, you read the play, or
Mhm.
or wrote it. I wrote a play one time, and
Yeah.
I knew what I wanted to say with it. But then when you see it in action, that's what's amazing.
Oh,
When
yeah.
what is in your head actually is on stage, or in your case in the film, you go, that's what I saw.
Yeah.
That's Nobody else could see that, but I saw that.
Yeah. You know, I actually love being surprised. I try to step out of an actor's way as I'm directing them because I love to be surprised at what they're going to bring to this character. And um, there are actors that have given me exactly as I wrote it, and it's, oh my goodness, to see the story come to life as you envisioned it. And then there are moments of magic that come when an actor brings something so completely different than you could have written, that it could only come from God. And it just enhances the performance. And oh, I've worked with some truly, truly gifted artists, and I'm so hopeful for them to excel inside their career paths as actors.
But you had to give that story up the way it was in your head for it to develop.
I
Not
have learned I'll get a much better story if I allow actors to work in their giftings. Now, there are some actors who really should not be acting, because once you get them on set, or, on screen, you go, oh, maybe they weren't right for the role after all. And maybe this isn't their gifting, but I saw them on set and I think something else might be their gifting, but that's not for me to say. That's
right.
for the Lord to encourage in other areas. But there are actors that you go, you've got it. Sharon Lanier, Michael Patterson from Fabled, are amazing. My little Sloan Summers and Hannah Quitzschleiber, and I'm butchering her last name, but I could never ever say it. truly, truly gifted. And nobody may know their name, but I believe one day you will if they keep pursuing this path.
Yeah.
Sharon and Michael, for sure, they're on such an accelerated path. I will not be surprised to see them as A-list actors. Beth Becca, she's really quite amazing. And then, of course, you've got actors that you want to work with. You know, Cameron Arnett. I look forward to working with him and in a project one day. So, yeah.
I've interviewed about 3 of those that you mentioned. And so, yes.
Yeah.
You know,
And
what
I can't, I want to rattle off everybody's
I
name at
know.
the table,
Yeah.
but I will tell you, between Gary and Julie Crisanti and Anna Terry, Truman Akins, I just, my daughter Kendall Wise, she stepped into a role that we actually kind of expanded some, but they are just tremendous actors. I'm like, I've been so gifted. And they truly have been a gift. We talked about this
Yeah.
prior.
There's some people that's listening to this and say, well, I'm not into film. I don't know anything about it. But what can I learn from this? Let me just say something. I believe parenting is a lot like making a film,
Yeah, yeah,
because you have a preconceived idea what your kids want to do or should do, and you're trying to mold them and make them into what you think they should do.
yeah,
And they need direction, they need discipline. But I tell people, parenting, the act of parenting is giving away every, since they were born to the time they leave the house, giving away, I'm giving and letting go. And
yeah,
when you let go and let God have your children
yeah,
and their lives, after giving them direction, step back and go, I didn't see that at all. My daughter ended up being an attorney here in Virginia Beach, and a very successful, wonderful attorney. My son does a film editing and some other things that God's blessed him with. But when I step back and go, I never would have guessed that. And it's the same way with parenting, and the same way when you're in leadership, is not to hold on, but to hold on too tight
yeah.
and just say, God, it's I hate to do this, but it's all yours.
Yeah, yeah. So, early on, it was like prying it. I felt like I had to have control over every
Yeah.
aspect, and still I struggle with that in full transparency. But I have found that it's such an enriching experience for everyone if you allow them to own their roles, and from the crew to the actors. And we all work with a synergy and just a pure joy to experience people. Of course, for indie projects, typically you're on set for long hours and people are tired, and we don't have the luxury with shooting in 8 to 5 day. It's you're putting in 12 hours. um I know with Fabled, my current project, it was long days of shooting, but they're true professionals. Everybody that was involved, true professionals, and we were all dedicated to this idea that we are going to provide this series, this pilot, with excellence. So having that kind of dedication from people on set is crucial to producing something that is really quite beautiful. And yeah, I love that though, because I absolutely agree with you. Parenting is a training ground for us in real life.
Yes. Yeah.
When we're going out and being the leaders, or for our children, they watch us and they learn from us. How are we reacting? And they're great at coaching me when I need it.
Yeah.
I look at these little human beings and I say, oh, goodness, what a true blessing to my life, to
Yeah.
my spiritual growth, to my growth as a human. They have been. So,
Yep. Absolutely. Well, Glenn, what I'm going to be doing, I'll put down below in the credits, or the comment section, your films that you're in, Fabled, and other things that you've been doing and have done.
yeah,
Also, ways that people can get a hold of you in the industry, or if they have questions
yeah,
about what you
yeah.
do. and that we can keep track of what's going on. But more important than that, and I ask this quite often on Morning Moments, I want everybody that's watching this interview and this conversation, and it was just a wonderful conversation, to take a moment and stop and say, I'm going to purposely pray for Glen right now,
Mhm.
that God would bless her, touch her life, and that would continue to bring the story out.
Yeah,
Jesus told the story. Jesus
yeah,
was a storyteller. And
yeah,
to be like Jesus, I want to be everything I can to be like Jesus, and I want to be a storyteller. And Glenn
yeah,
is that. So let's just pray for her, that she would be the plan, keeping the plan, the hope, and the future that God has for her. And by the way, out there, God's got a plan, a future, and hope for you. And
you
it's up to
bet.
you to find out what it is, because God has got something great in store for you out there that's listening for this
Yeah.
today. Glenn, thank you so much for joining me for Morning Moments.
Oh, Andy, you are so awesome, and the fact that you provide this forum for people to have a voice that and people to be recognized inside an industry that is full of people. I'm just really appreciative, and I think you've interviewed some great people. As a matter of fact, I've been trying to go and watch some of these interviews. It helps me get to know them,
Good.
and I'm really appreciative of it because we don't connect. It's such an internet society now and such a virtual connection. So sometimes it's almost like being invited into somebody's dining room and sitting down with a cup of coffee to enjoy a nice conversation. So I really appreciate you. I appreciate that you did that. And thank you. I appreciate you encouraging people to pray for me for my projects. Ultimately, it's not about me, it's about getting out what God wants to birth. And I want to encourage people to create, and your creation may be in science or something completely different, law, as you said, your daughter. But, you know, go and create whatever the Lord is birthing inside of you. Go and it may not look grand right now, but I really want to encourage people follow that passion. And if you don't have a passion yet, start asking the Lord for passion because He'll give it to you. He'll show you the path that He has created and desired for you at this stage of your life.
Amen. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Andy.
And thank you for joining me in Morning Moments. I want to ask you to keep on coming back, and may God richly bless you.